to the gentleman here.
Well, my question is, for question 2, what would be the benefit for the people to vote yes or no in terms of the bottle bill?
Well, you know, the benefit of yes would be to really limit the litter that is across, you know, our community. If you do notice, there are not many carbonated drink cans or packaging all over the streets. However, you do see a lot of water bottles strewn across areas. It takes away from the litter. It adds to the recycling. That would be the positive of raising the tax. I'm sorry, increasing the surcharge on
fees,
bottles.
yes.
However, and the way that I consider this is it becomes, I think people are already recycling. I think we all have 2 very large bins in the back of our homes.
Yes.
Exactly.
I think there are people coming through our neighborhoods and picking through our bins for the cans and such like that. And generally, they're not picking them up off the sidewalks. Generally, they're not picking them up at the parks. Generally, they're picking them up right out of our own recycling bins. So to me, this seems like an added tax that I don't know that people can really afford. We're talking gas taxes. We're talking increasing minimum wages for small business. We're talking about health care for small business. And now we're talking about increasing charges on people just wanting to go ahead and have a drink or a bottle of water.
Right.
So if you want to interpret.
Yes. លោក Fred Bahu បានមានប្រសាសន៍ថាសំណួរទី2គាត់យល់ថានេះគឺជាការបន្ថែមតាក់ទៅលើដែលតាក់យើងបានបង់រួចមកហើយបើយើងបង់តាក់បង់ fee ទៅលើ bottle bill នឹងទៀតហើយទៅលើតាក់ខាងសាំងប្រេងអ៊ីនធឺណិតទៀតបានន័យថាអ្នកធ្វើការធម្មតាប្រហែលជាមានការពិបាកនឹងបង់តាក់នេះบង់តាក់នោះគ្រប់កន្លែងចា
And I pretty much agree with that. I see the bottle bill, or the new bottle bill, as a backhanded tax increase. I really don't see it as much of anything else. When the first bottle bill passed 30 years ago, I was supportive of it. I thought it was a good idea, and I thought it was a good idea for a very simple reason. That 30 years ago, of course, I was in college. I mean, just to kind of put things in perspective here. And recycling was almost impossible. I mean, if you wanted to recycle, you really had to be dedicated to the concept of recycling. You had to pack up your stuff, separate your cans from your bottles, from your papers, from your plastics. Actually, I don't even think we could recycle plastic back then.
There was very limited plastic.
Yeah.
It was almost like there was none.
Well, that's true too, but recycling plastic, I think, was an issue in those days. But you had to separate your cans from your bottles, from your paper, and haul them to a recycling center wherever that might happen to be. Not every town. I don't think every town. Not every town had one. I don't think.
So លោក Louis Haskell មានប្រសាសន៍ថាកាល30ឆ្នាំមុនគាត់យល់ថា recycling program ហ្នឹងល្អមែនព្រោះយើងអត់មាន curbside recycling program ដល់អញ្ចឹងវាមានការពិបាកដូច្នេះបើយើងបង់5សេនសម្រាប់ដបមួយក៏មិនអីដែរតែមកដល់ពេលនេះគឺថា recycling program របៀបហ្នឹងគឺវាហួសពេលហើយព្រោះអីព្រោះនៅតាមផ្ទះយើងគេឲ្យធុង2ធំៗសម្រាប់ធ្វើ recycling program. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we should go into question 4 now because it's also important. So any one of you would like to start raising the questions?
Is this the questions sick time?
Sick days, yes.
Yeah. As I ខ្ញុំនិយាយមុននឹងអញ្ចឹងខ្ញុំថាខ្ញុំយល់ថាចំពោះកម្មករធ្វើការបងប្អូនទាំងអស់ត្រូវការមានពេលវេលាសម្រាប់មើលជំងឺបើសិនជាយើងឈឺយើងត្រូវការមានពេលវេលាមើលជំងឺមិនត្រូវការភ័យព្រួយដោយថាតើយើងមានកិច្ចការគេបង់លុយឲ្យយើងឬមួយមិនអាចត្រឡប់ទៅធ្វើការវិញពីព្រោះបើសិនជាយើង vote ថា no company នឹងមានអំណាចថាបើសិនជាយើងឈប់
អត់បានប្រាក់ខែ
អត់មានប្រាក់ខែ
ចាចា
ហើយខ្ញុំយល់ថាពេលណាមនុស្សឈឺបើសិនជាយើងទៅធ្វើការដោយសារយើងភ័យព្រួយពីរឿងអត់មានគេបង់លុយឬមួយព្រួយពីរឿងដូចថាខ្លាច company នឹងដេញយើងចេញយើងនឹងយកជំងឺនឹងទៅឲ្យអ្នកផ្សេងនៅក្នុងកន្លែង
ហើយធ្វើការក៏មិនបានល្អដែរ
ចា
Could you say that in English so that our guests can understand?
Yeah. I was saying you know we all have a right to if we're sick to take care of ourselves and earn that instead of having to worry whether I will be able to pay for my mortgage or I will be worry if I will have a job waiting for me because if an employer have the right say well if you take a sick day then you're not going to get paid and then you know and a possibility you will not have a job
Right.
you know and when you're sick you go into work you're not benefiting anybody were you like
Plus
spreading
you're
the
bringing
disease
all the illness to spread around too.
yeah and you can't function
Right.
so you know I mean that question should not be I just felt it's
So should you stay home without pay?
No, I think you should stay home and take care of yourself and not worry about your job and get paid and you know everybody else help out in the workplace. I mean, what I don't agree was the small business. What they were saying like small business will have to double pay the other employee. Is that
I think they
and
were
pay the
talking
sick
about
time and then
compensating the subs if
Yeah.
there
Yes.
is a sub.
I mean, I don't agree in that part. Is you know the compensating the sub part. It was because you know people help out.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump on your disagreement, okay, with the argument, because it points out what I think is the problem with the ballot initiative, okay, and that is this. For me, you're correct. My front office manager is out sick today, and yes, I did not pay a second person because my small business is an office. Okay, if my small business were a restaurant and my dishwasher were out sick, then yeah, I'd have to be on the phone all morning bringing in a different dishwasher. Okay, so it really depends upon the situation. And that to me is the problem with dealing with this in the form of a ballot initiative as opposed to dealing with it in the context of legislation, is you have this kind of one-size-fits-all kind of a program simply being imposed by folks who frankly I don't think are very sympathetic or empathetic, in fact absolutely not empathetic to the problems that small business people have in managing their staff. And as I say, your argument raises that because it's not, you know, you're pointing out it's not one size fits all, and I'm agreeing with you. It's not one size fits all, and that is the problem. And by the way, I do have to apologize for last week. I was not aware that question 4 was part of the discussion, and I was actually looking at this thing as I was answering the question. And at one point I said, well, the best thing I'll say about it is that question 4 doesn't apply to me. It turns out that yes, it does.
It does.
Oh, yes, it does.
Because you are an employer.
Kind of a thing. And you know, and I'm very concerned that there's this effort here to solve, you know, all the problems of society on the backs of small business people. I mean, you know, I complained about the minimum wage last time, and now this and whatever. You know, people, and I made a difference between sympathy and empathy. You know, people say to me, Louis, you're so lucky. You have your own business. You only have to work when you want to.
Right.
And I answer, yes, it's great, so long as you want to work all the time. You know, kind of a thing. And you know, this problem of how you manage employees. You know, I mean, I'm a self-employed trial lawyer. Okay, and I will tell you that the hardest part of what I do is not go to court. I can almost do that sleepwalking. It's managing my employees and dealing with all the issues that come with trying to manage a payroll and make sure you've got the right people doing the right things at the right times and whatnot. And this idea now that the state is going to come in and mess around with my systems and impose its one-size-fits-all solution upon me is problematic. This particular initiative won't affect me so much. I'll just give less vacation time and more, and less flexi.
And then more sick days.
Well, that's correct because we kind of have a system where my employees just have days, and they can.
Which
and
a
they
lot
can,
of employers are
right.
going to that direction. You have a certain day off. You can use it to whatever.
Sick, vacation, personal. It's none of my business. I don't care. Kind of a thing. And
What do you think, Fred?
Did you want to interpret? Because I'd be happy to go ahead.
Oh, yeah. That was a long paragraph.មេធាវី Louis Haskell បានមានប្រសាសន៍ថាគាត់គឺជា employer ដែរគាត់គឺជាអ្នកមានកូនចៅធ្វើការជាមួយគាត់មួយចំនួនដែរហើយគាត់យល់ថាសំណួរទី4ហ្នឹងគឺមិនអាចតម្រូវតាមគ្រប់កន្លែងទាំងអស់ទេតាមគ្រប់ employer ទាំងអស់ទេអាចតម្រូវបាន employer នេះតែមិនត្រូវ employer នោះព្រោះគាត់ជា employer ដែរហើយគាត់យល់ថាអ្នកដែលធ្វើការជាមួយគាត់មាន vacation time ច្រើនដូច្នេះ sick day ហ្នឹងក៏វាមិនសូវមានហេតុនេះហើយគាត់មិនយល់ស្របនឹងសំណួរទី4ហ្នឹងទេចាព្រោះគាត់ថាមិនអាច one size fit all បានទេហើយគាត់ចង់បញ្ជាក់ថាសំណួរទី4ហ្នឹងគឺมันអាចត្រូវជាមួយ employer របស់គាត់ទេចា Thank you Mr. Bahu would you like to add to it
Sure I like Mr. Haskell's thought of it's not a fair question because you're affecting people with more than 11 employees and even people with less than 11 employees the same it comes down to you don't want people to work sick. Cindy, you don't want people to work sick. No. It wouldn't be fair. It's not fair to your employee.
To everybody.
Or for everybody. That's correct. Because in my business, it's a convenience store, and my customer could very well get ill if my employee shows up ill. I think the way that I look at it is the way of a small businessman, because the toughest thing is to make your business survive. If you're a small business owner and you rely strictly on part-time employees, if you have full-time employees, I think it's very fair. Full-time employees working more than 30 hours a week. But if you have part-time employees that are working less than 20 hours a week, and you're offering this, and you're offering, there's an increase in minimum wage happening. It's $9.50 now, I believe, and then it goes to $10.50.